As I stood over my husband's grave, still trembling from the shock of losing him, my sister-in-law leaned in and whispered, "Now that your husband has died, mourn, pack your things, and never come back here again." My heart stopped. "Hi, my name is Angela, and I'm 29 years old. Just last month I was cooking dinner and laughing with my husband, Brian. We had dreams. Big ones. Family. New business. Travel plans. Now I was standing in the middle of a funeral. His funeral. Brian died in his sleep from a heart attack. No warning. No goodbye. 1 minute he was snoring beside me, and the next he was cold. I screamed. Called 911. I held his hand for hours, even after the paramedics said he was gone. I didn't want to let go. I thought the funeral would be the hardest part. But I was wrong. At the burial, people hugged me, cried with me. But not Melissa, Brian's sister. She wore a black dress and fake tears. Her eyes were dry the whole time. She never liked me. Even on our wedding day, she told me I didn't deserve her brother. Still, I tried to be kind. I called her sister. I let things go. I thought maybe one day she'll accept me. But that day never came. When she whispered those words to me at the grave, something inside me broke. I turned and looked at her. She smiled. Not a kind smile, but a wicked, mean one. Like she had been waiting for this moment. I didn't respond. Couldn't. I was too shocked. After the burial, I went home. I just wanted to lie down in our bed and cry. I wanted to smell Brian's shirt, hug his pillow, be alone. But when I got to the front door, something was wrong. My key didn't work. I tried again, and again. Still nothing. My hands began to shake. Then I saw them. Black trash bags. My clothes. My shoes. My books. Even our wedding picture. Dumped on the ground like garbage. Melissa was standing near the door with her arms folded. Beside her, a police officer stood quietly. What's going on?" I asked. My voice was weak. She smiled again. "This house belongs to our family. Brian left no will. You're not part of us. You're just a guest, and your time is up." Froze. "That's not true. Brian and I lived here together. This is my home." She laughed softly. "Not anymore. You married my brother, not the house. Now take your things and go. You're making a scene." The police officer looked sorry, but he said I had to leave. He said I could file a complaint, but for now it was best to walk away. I wanted to scream, cry, to throw something. But I didn't. I bent down, picked up the bags and walked away. My heart was screaming, but my face stayed calm. I walked through the streets with plastic bags in my hands. Cars passed. People stared. I didn't care. I just walked. That night, I slept on the floor of a friend's house. I stared at the ceiling and whispered to myself, "Why is this happening? Why would she do this to me? Why now, when I've lost everything?" I cried silently. The pain was too big for words. For the next few days, I moved into a tiny one-room apartment. It was cold. The windows didn't close properly. And the mattress smelled old. But at least I had a roof over my head. Had no job. No money. Brian had been the main provider. We shared everything, and now everything was gone. I ate bread and water for days. Sometimes nothing at all. And Melissa, she moved into our house. She started wearing Brian's expensive clothes, using his car, posting online like she was the one who lost a husband. She threw parties. I saw it on social media. My heart burned with pain. I stayed quiet. I didn't want to fight. I was tired. So tired. But inside me something started to change. Anger. Not loud, wild anger. But quiet, deep anger. The kind that sits in your chest and waits. Every night, I would close my eyes and see her smiling at me at the grave. Those words echoing in my ears. "Pack your things and never come back here again." I wanted answers. I wanted peace. But I also wanted revenge. One morning, about 3 weeks after everything happened, I got a letter. A real letter. No stamp, just my name written on the front. I opened it slowly. My hands shook as I read the first line. "My love, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong." Froze. I knew that handwriting. I knew those words. It was Brian. And just like that, the fire inside me turned into something else. Hope. I sat on the cold floor of my small room, holding the letter with both hands. My eyes couldn't stop reading the first line. My love, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong. It was Brian's handwriting. His words. His heart. Tears ran down my face, but for the first time in weeks, they weren't from pain, they were from shock. He had written it just days before he died. Somehow, he knew something wasn't right. I wiped my eyes and kept reading. Angela, I know you're probably hurting right now. I wish I could be there to hold your hand. But if you got this letter, it means I didn't make it. There's something important you need to know. Something about Melissa. Pause. My heart thumped hard. I love you and I trust you with everything I have. But I've seen things that scare me. Melissa has been coming around too often lately. Asking questions. Snooping. She even asked me what would happen to the house and the company if I died. I didn't tell her anything. But I'm worried. So I wrote 3 copies of my will. You're the only one I want to have everything. Our house, our company, our money. All of it. It's yours. My breath caught in my throat. The first copy is with my lawyer, Mr. Hansen. The second is hidden in the safe behind the photo in our bedroom. You know the one, our beach picture from 5 years ago. The third is in my old school locker at Westview College. Locker 112. If anything happens to me, don't trust Melissa. She will try to erase you. Fight back, Angela. That house, our savings, and the company I built. It's all yours. I love you forever. Brian. I clutched the letter to my chest. My hands were shaking. He knew. He knew Melissa was planning something. And he tried to protect me. I sat there for a long time. Quiet. Thinking. Remembering his laugh. His voice. His dreams for us. Then something inside me snapped. No more crying. No more pain. No more fear. It was time to fight back. The next morning I wore clean clothes and tied my hair neatly. I looked at myself in the mirror and said out loud, "You are not a victim anymore, Angela." I took the letter and left my apartment. I went to Westview College, to locker 112. I told the security guard I needed access. He looked confused, but after I showed him Brian's photo ID and explained he was my husband, he let me in. Inside the locker was a brown envelope. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, another copy of the will. I almost screamed. My name was written clearly. It said I was the only person Brian trusted to have everything. I took photos of it, made 2 copies at the library nearby, and kept them safe. Next, I went to the law firm Brian mentioned. I asked to see Mr. Hansen, the lawyer Brian trusted. But when I told the receptionist my name, her face changed. She disappeared for a few minutes. Then she returned and said, "I'm sorry, but Mr. Hansen is out of the country. He left suddenly a few weeks ago. We don't know when he'll be back." I didn't believe her. Something was wrong. So I waited outside. I sat across the street for 3 hours, watching the building. And then I saw him, Mr. Hansen, walking out of the back entrance, looking nervous. I ran up to him. "Why did you lie? Why didn't you give me Brian's will?" He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Angela, I didn't have a choice." He pulled me aside. "Melissa came here after Brian died. She offered me a lot of money to keep quiet. She threatened to ruin my career if I gave you the will." I stared at him. My blood felt like fire. "You knew I had nothing. You knew I was on the street. And you said nothing," I whispered. He looked down. "I'm sorry. I didn't think you'd find out." I handed him the copy from the locker. "Well, now I know. And now we're going to court." His face turned white. "I'll cooperate. I'll do everything I can to make it right. I still have Brian's original will in my safe." "Good," I said. "You'll be hearing from my new lawyer." That evening I called an old friend from college. Early. She was now a tough lawyer who helped women in bad situations. I told her everything. I showed her the will, a letter, photos. She sat quietly taking notes. Then she looked at me and said, "Angela, we're going to destroy her." I smiled for the first time in a long time. Together we made a plan. Quiet, careful, deadly. We would gather every piece of proof. Track every dollar Melissa stole. Collect every signature she faked. We weren't rushing. We were building a case that no one could break. As I lay in bed that night, holding Brian's letter, I whispered, "I'm going to make you proud. I promise." 'Cause now I had more than pain. I had a purpose. The next few weeks were like a quiet war. I didn't scream. I didn't post anything online. I didn't confront Melissa. I watched, listened, collected everything. My lawyer friend Shirley told me something I'll never forget. When people steal, they always leave crumbs behind. You just have to follow the trail. And that's exactly what we did. First, we looked into Brian's company, a tech startup he built from scratch. He had a big office in the city, and before he died, he was about to launch a new project that would have changed our lives. But when Brian died, Melissa showed up at the company pretending to be the grieving sister. She told the staff she was handling all the business affairs. She told them I was too emotional to deal with anything, that I didn't want anything to do with the company. Then she changed the company bank accounts. She added her name. She moved money. She sold equipment. We found it all. Bank statements, transaction logs, emails. My lawyer dug deep. Shirley said, "She forged your husband's signature on a dozen documents. That's jail time if we push it." Next, we checked the house papers. The house where Brian and I had lived for 6 years. It was fully paid off. But the land documents were under both our names. Melissa had told the police that I wasn't on the title. But that was another lie. The original copy showed my name clearly. But the copy Melissa gave the police had been edited. She paid someone to make it look like Brian owned the house alone. We found the man who did it. A shady printer. When we showed him the real documents, he panicked and gave us a full confession. We recorded it. Then there was Brian's car, a silver SUV he loved so much. Melissa had sold it just 2 weeks after the funeral. She posted it online and told buyers she was the only family member left. But Brian had registered the car in both our names. When we checked the new ownership papers, we saw a forged signature, mine. Shirley shook her head and said, "She didn't even try to hide it well. This is sloppy." I felt like I was breathing fire. Every lie Melissa told made me stronger. Every stolen item made me angrier. But I kept quiet. I wanted her to feel safe. I wanted her to think I was still crying in my tiny apartment, that I was still weak and broken. Then one day, I got a message from a former employee at Brian's company. He wrote, "Hi Angela. I know you probably don't know me, but I used to work with your husband. I just wanted you to know. Melissa fired everyone who asked about you. She's planning to sell the company in 2 weeks. You might want to stop her before it's too late." I stared at the message for a long time. Sell the company. Brian's dream. Just like that. Well, this ends now. That night, I wore the dress Brian had bought me for our anniversary. I sat at my table with Shirley and her team. We printed everything. Labeled everything. The letter. The will. The locker copy. The lawyer's statement. The bank theft. The forged house papers. The stolen car. The fake sale agreement. The printer's confession. We had a mountain of proof. Shirley smiled and said, "Tomorrow we file in court. But first." She slid a white envelope across the table. "What's this?" I asked. He grinned. "It's time to invite Melissa for tea." I didn't sleep that night. My mind was racing. My hands were sweating. But my heart was steady. I was ready. I had been through grief. I had been thrown out. I had been humiliated. But now I was standing tall. Tomorrow, Melissa would walk into the same house she stole from me. And I would be waiting. Not as the weak widow, but as the rightful owner. The next morning I stood at the front door of my house, the one I was thrown out of. The one where I once made soup for Brian, where we danced in the kitchen, where I cried myself to sleep after he died. Melissa thought it was hers now. But today, everything was going to change. The gate opened. Her car drove in just like it had for the past few weeks. She walked up the driveway in her shiny red heels like she owned the world. When she saw me sitting on the porch, sipping tea, she stopped. Her eyes narrowed. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice cold. I smiled calmly and stood up. "I live here. Would you like to come in for coffee?" She blinked, confused. "You must be joking." I stepped aside and let her enter. She walked in slowly, looking around. Everything looked the same, but something felt different. I led her to the kitchen and poured her a cup. Melissa sat down, watching me closely. "What is this, Angela? Why are you acting like this is your house again?" I didn't answer right away. I walked over to my bag and pulled out a white folder. Then I placed it on the table in front of her. She stared at it. "What's this?" I said softly. "The truth." She opened the folder. The first thing she saw was Brian's letter. Her face went pale. Next she saw the will, 3 copies. From the locker, the lawyer, and the safe. Then came the evidence. Photos of the forged documents. Video of the shady printer confessing. The car papers. Bank records. Voice recordings. Witness statements. Her hands began to shake. You've been spying on me," she said, trying to smile. "No," I replied. "I've been fighting for what's mine." She stood up fast, knocking over the chair. "You can't prove any of this in court." I looked at her. My voice was calm but strong. "We already did. The case was filed this morning. And guess what? The police are on their way." Her mouth dropped open. "You're lying," she whispered. Just then the doorbell rang. I walked to the door and opened it. 2 police officers stood there with firm faces. "Melissa Rowe?" one of them asked. She didn't answer. "You are under arrest for fraud, identity theft, forgery, and theft of property. You have the right to remain silent." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. As they placed her in handcuffs, she looked back at me. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. "You think you've won," she hissed. I stepped forward and whispered the same words she said to me at the grave. "Now that my husband is dead, pack your things, and never come back here again." Only this time, it wasn't whispered out of cruelty. It was whispered with justice. 1 year later, I sat in the backyard garden, sipping tea under the big tree Brian and I planted together. The house was mine again. The company was running smoothly. I gave the old staff their jobs back. We renamed the company B&A Tech, for Brian and Angela. Melissa went to jail. She had lied too much to escape it. Sometimes people ask me how I stayed so calm through everything. I tell them the truth. I didn't stay calm. Cried. Broke. I lost everything. But when I found Brian's letter, I found my strength. He gave me a map. And I followed it. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight with fists. My silence was louder than any words. My patience was sharper than any sword. And in the end, justice found its way home.